look at the status of women. As a woman, where would you want to live? In any Arab Muslim country or in Israel? Then they point out to me, they said, look at what they're doing, the Muslims, to each other. In Iraq, look at how they're not able to get along in Lebanon. One group wants to take over. Look at what's happening all over in Islamic countries. They do not tend to get along with each other. So my question to you is, how do you answer that psychological fear? Much of it is based on reality. The Iranian government right now has programs on television that they're still teaching people that the Jews put the blood of children in their matzah. I had friends of mine who would not dare come to my home.
I lived in Iran for a year. That is not true.
No, I'm telling you, but each one of us can only speak of our own experience. My best friends wouldn't come to my home because they believe that, and the Iranian government is still doing that.
The point is clear.
So how do we address those fears?
Thank you. I think the point is clear. I'll definitely comment on that. Thank you. Let me do as brief as possible, because I know we have to finish. I hope not disappoint anyone. Is Israel the happiest nation on earth and so on? You know, there's no happiness in Israel. It's a very it's a society, a very troubled society. I always remember watching the last year's very artificial celebration of independence in my hometown. And I remember my wife telling me that we have something in common with these people. And I said, what? And she said, we're all unhappy. And then she said, but there's one difference. We know why we're happy, they don't. And I think there's something in it. I mean, the Israelis understand that things are not working too well. Now, I think what happens to journalists, which is true, they go to bubbles like Tel Aviv, where people live very happily. It's a kind of, for some people, it's like heaven upon earth, what Tel Aviv can provide. It's not Israel, it's Tel Aviv, it's a different state within a state. And this is an ignorance or an unwillingness to know what goes on. So in many ways, for these people, they will tell you in Tel Aviv that the conflict, as they call it, is over. Because there's a wall, they don't see anything on the other side. There are no suicide bombs in Tel Aviv in the last few years, so they think this is over. And there's no need to know. So I think that happiness is not the right noun to use. It's ignorance, and many sections of the Israeli society would not be easily described as happy. But unfortunately, the analysis of what's wrong is not my analysis. And once these two would correlate, I think I can hope for them that they will have happier time. The education, national education, yes, I agree, all over the world people are being indoctrinated. But again, guys, I have only one life. I'm dealing with one educational system which bothers me. I'm sure others deserve my attention too, but I cannot clone myself to deal with all those. So I'm dealing just with the Israeli one. I don't know enough about the American education system. I only checked what they teach here, whenever they do teach here, about the Arab-Israeli conflict, and that's very appalling. And it doesn't look very different from what the Israeli kids are getting. And then you check the university curriculum, it's getting better, I must admit, as it is. Now, divestment. I think divestment is, you're right, I don't have many hopes economically for divestment. I once said that divestment and boycott is a non-event which has a lot of effect on Israel. The very talk of divestment is very important. It's an indicator of a change of public opinion. It's the willingness of people to support strong pressure on Israel, which is far more important than the pressure itself. It's like Jimmy Carter's book. 90% of the people who talk about it know the title, they haven't read the book. And the title was enough to steer a change in the American public opinion. So I usually don't like to tell people just to look at titles. In this case, it's good actually because the book isn't that good. But don't record me on this. But the title was very important. The title is very important. And I think divestment in many ways plays in a similar way. Alternative ideology and so on, it's a very long question. I do think that the most important thing about these issues, because we have so many separate and different agendas, is to be inclusive rather than exclusive, and definitely not to determine to other people what should be the golden mean between the different systems of values and beliefs that we all have. It will have to be multicultural in the right sense of the word, in the sense that you will have to find a common basis once you have ended the occupation and the discrimination and the crimes on the ground, and build together, hopefully, something which most of the people could tolerate and live with. And it's not the time, I think, now to dictate to anyone else exactly what it is. But definitely, exclusivist ideologies would not have a chance of surviving. Inclusive ideologies, those who would allow for a dialogue between people and common basis, have a chance. But I admit it's a very short answer for a very important issue. The 1967 archives are open, and if you come to my talk tomorrow in UCLA at 6 o'clock, you'll hear what I found. It's my next book. It's coming out in the end of the summer. It probably would prolong my exile. Before these limits, I will end with a question. What the lady said. Thank you for the remark of the whole question of the moral equivalent. The nonsense goes on, but as you see from tonight, a lot of people are not giving in to the nonsense. Many more than when you lived a long life. I'm sure that 10 years ago, there were fewer people who were willing to challenge the nonsense. There are many more now, and there are many young people who are not willing to digest anymore the lies fabricated and produced by the media in this country, the political elite in this country, and we have a great hope.